Sundowns is gold, is yellow, that one. It's not gold. I suspect the color which General CDC is very yellow. So this color is gold. So the colors of uMkhonto Wesizwe shall be green, black, and the green is supposed to be the military green, because I know sometimes there's a temptation to use green which is not necessarily green. Sometimes people put lime t-shirt with the logo of uMkhonto Wesizwe, but the colors of the organization is green, black, and gold. The dominant green color represents the land which must be reclaimed from colonial settlers and equitably redistributed to all the people and preserved as a legacy for future generations. So that is what the green represents, the land and our natural resources. The black color represents commitment to liberation of black and indigenous people from colonial oppression and dispossession. The color black also represents the purposeful intention to unite all black people in the struggle for total emancipation. The color gold represents MKP's commitments to reclaim and locally beneficiate all our natural resources and other economic assets. The logo of MKP shall be a gold circle colored in green and a warrior inside the circle holding a gold spear in the middle with the inscription MK. The spear in the middle represents the continued struggle for total freedom and emancipation. And it also says that no regalia of uMkhonto Wesizwe and paraphernalia shall be printed and reproduced in any other color other than the colors of the MK. So of course there are t-shirts like the t-shirts, the black t-shirt, that comrade is wearing, doesn't have the gold circle. It's not the logo of uMkhonto Wesizwe. Even the one which, even the one which Gavin is wearing is, there is no gold circle. But we understand that some of the logos were printed prior to the description of, and I know the Dan TG Menzi had circulated to all the merchandisers. Even that one is a mistaken one. Now, comrades, you know what this means about so white is not a color. You can use white to put logos of the organization, but even if purple or red or pink is your favorite color, you can't go and put logo of uMkhonto Wesizwe on a t-shirt that is pink or a blue t-shirt. It will be violation of the constitution of uMkhonto Wesizwe to do so. Even if you want to be colorful, you must stay away. The constitution says we must use our colors in terms of how we get to popularize our movement. The aims and objectives of uMkhonto Wesizwe. One is that is what we intend to achieve as uMkhonto Wesizwe. One is to unite all the anti-colonial, anti-imperialist, and anti-racist progressive forces in South Africa to fight for total political, economic, social, spatial, cultural, and knowledge, ideological freedom and emancipation. So the first aim of uMkhonto Wesizwe is unification. And after unification, number two is to tirelessly fight for the return of all South African natural and economic resources to the ownership, control, and benefit of the people as a whole. And how do we do that? So we unite, we fight. And how do we fight? We fight through conscientization and mobilization. So then aim number three is to mobilize, educate, agitate, conscientize the people of South Africa behind the vision and mission of total political emancipation, radical economic transformation, and economic emancipation. So that is what we aim to achieve, to reclaim all the land and natural resources that were forcefully and violently taken from indigenous people and redistributed to all the people equitably through the instrumentality of a democratic state, that we want our land back. That is a clear emphasis. Now, comrades, there's an issue which as leadership we need to proper understand and internalize. So you see, as leadership of the detachments in provinces and at regional level, you must appreciate the distinction between mobilization and organizing. So as a collective, you must organize structures into sub-regional structures. That is when you organize people into proper structures, proper campaigns, and organize people into VD-based branches and ward-based branches when the guideline comes out in terms of how wards are going to be constituted. So that is organizing when you know each and every person that is assigned a task by the organization uMkhonto Wesizwe. You know that in Johannesburg, Ward 44, who are our ground forces in that ward? In each and every VD. That is organizing properly. Mobilization is that thing of calling people to a meeting. Loud hailing, comrades, there's a rally, let's gather. And the biggest instrument towards our victory will be organization than mobilization. Mobilization, we can demonstrate strength later on, but the biggest aspect that we need to emphasize on is organization. Archbishop Zondo will tell you that, so you know, if you in a church environment, you call a crusade, you can call in 3,000 people. And you can call an altar call and it can come and then they repent, all of them. 2 weeks later, they are no longer associated with that. They are no longer interested. Because there is no organization of the church there. But when you do the church, you go and talk one by one. This is, you must come on Sundays, on Wednesdays, there's a prayer, there's an intercession on Monday. And this is how you persuade other people. Mobilization, you can organize a very big rally. You must go and check the rallies of all political parties in Beckersdale. What number was that? What 35? You must go and check the numbers, the sizes of the rallies of all the political parties that were there in Beckersdale and read the election results. You will realize that mobilization, you can be very excited, you think that you are in control. But of course, there must be a dynamic combination of mobilization and organization. But as the structures of uMkhonto Wesizwe, we must emphasize on organizing. It is part of our responsibilities. Comrade Mutsi. So we should know who are the leaders of uMkhonto Wesizwe in all the sub-regions of Dr. Ruth Skhumuzu Mumpat. In Greater Taung is the most far place in South Africa. And in Mamusa, and all of those areas. Part of our objectives, comrades, is to introduce parliamentary sovereignty and power in a manner that will represent the interests and aspirations of the people. So, to say parliamentary sovereignty is to say we need total political power. That once Parliament has taken a decision, when majority in Parliament has taken a decision, there must not be a scope for a court to change the decisions of Parliament. Once the majority have spoken, that decision must be final. So we're calling for the dictatorship of the majority. If we were a Leninist party, we'll say this is dictatorship of the proletariat. So we are calling for the dictatorship of the majority. And dictatorship of the majority is through democracy. Majority rule. That we're calling for parliamentary sovereignty as part of what we are fighting for. Number 6, uMkhonto Wesizwe exists to democratically and decisively take over political power in South Africa, which will be used as an instrument for total freedom and emancipation. So to democratically take political power, it means we take political power on behalf of the majority. You can take political power without the majority. You can overthrow a government without the support of the majority. But uMkhonto Wesizwe aims to democratically take power on behalf of the majority. We have not yet decided to take power through any other means. We are now saying democratic. There is no decision about taking power, comrade pump gun. There is no decision about taking power through any other means. It's through democratic means, which means we must persuade as many people. The other objective of uMkhonto Wesizwe is to take over economic power and pursue economic expansion through purposeful-led, state-led industrialization. But also the aim of uMkhonto Wesizwe is to grow the productive forces, that is to grow the economy in a manner that will guarantee full employment and create conditions for common and full prosperity for all the people. That we're going to create full employment for all the people who need quality and sustainable jobs. That when we exist as uMkhonto Wesizwe, it's not a manifesto commitment, it's a constitutional obligation of uMkhonto Wesizwe that we aim to create jobs for everyone. Not for those who are below the age of 35 and all these regulations. So as an activist of uMkhonto Wesizwe, when people come to you and say, the municipality is excluding us because they say we're above 35, you must know that that is your battle. Because we are fighting for employment of everyone who can work and is in need of a job. Number 10 is to fight for the interest, rights, and aspirations of all workers, including the rights to unionize, to work in safe and protected workplaces, and the right to earn a living wage. What that number 10 does is to squarely place uMkhonto Wesizwe as a working class organization. So in the battle between the capitalist and the working class, uMkhonto Wesizwe is on the side of the working class. So if you find workers marching, you don't ask, you join in the march, you will ask later, what are we fighting for? Because we're on the side of workers. When you find workers in action, we naturally are associated with workers. That is our struggles. The workers are always right. If you find there's no activity to do, you realize that there's marching today, you just join into the toy, then, comrades, what are we fighting for today? But let's go on. You even, what are we doing tomorrow? That is where we are as a movement, that we are fighting on the side of the working class. We are not a bourgeois political party. They are, by the way, political parties that fight for the interest of the capitalists. They call them investors, they call them all sorts of names. And then they say, no, we want to make a manifesto, but what are the investors going to say? No, let's just check with the investors or their representatives of what are they going to say. Ourselves in uMkhonto Wesizwe, the question we ask is, how are our people going to benefit from whatever action we take as a movement? How does this benefit the working class and the poor? That is the question that every time you ask that, even when we're in government, when we're in parliament, when we're in every institution, whenever a legislation is introduced, we must ask a question, how are our people going to benefit out of this thing? And we have to say this because you will see, comrades, when we rise to full power, there will be those even from amongst us who will say, yeah, we want to repair the bridges, we want to build schools, but how do we eat out of that thing? And that seems to be the main driving motive of the sitting government. There's crisis of electricity. The question they are looking for, or the responsibilities they are looking at, is not how to resolve electricity. They say, how do we eat out of this electricity crisis? Everything for them is about eating. In some instances, they can delay a project because they've not yet been offered a bribe. No one has come to say, no, this is how we're going to eat here. Then they say, no, if we are not assured that will rather not happen, that will not happen. But uMkhonto Wesizwe, the question we ask is, how do we benefit our people? How do the constituencies that we represent get to benefit out of the work that we do? That is why part of our objectives in number 11 is to fight and reduce inequalities and poverty in South Africa, to fight all manifestations of crime and criminality in all spheres of society. But also we aim to assemble the best qualified and most skilled relevant people to provide a responsive and responsible government which will benefit all the people of South Africa and maintain mutually beneficial economic, political and social relationships with people of the African continent and the world. The other objective, comrades, is to fight for and introduce free, quality and decolonized education for all, from elementary schools until postgraduate level. So we're going to fight, it's in the Constitution to fight for free education from creche, from early childhood development to postgraduate level. We're the only organization that makes that bold commitment, that from creche to postgraduate level. Not just first degree, that if you want to get a PhD, uMkhonto Wesizwe says that the state must make resources available for postgraduate studies as well, without payment of any cent. And in that regard, we've got a firm foundation because our President and Commander General, as head of state and president, he had already introduced free education, which was disrupted by those who came after him. The other obligation and objective of uMkhonto Wesizwe is to elevate and officially recognize the roles of royal, indigenous and traditional leaders in South Africa's democratic system through giving clearly defined legislative and oversight powers to the National House of Traditional Leaders. Comrades, whether we want it or not, whether you prefer it or not, traditional leaders are part of our system of governance in society. They are just not recognized by those who are in government. uMkhonto Wesizwe says that let's clearly define as to what becomes the role of traditional leaders. Not just to invite them into gatherings and not give them any role to play. Because when you don't have any role for traditional leaders, you have effectively abolished the institution and system of traditional leadership. Many other parts of the world, even established so-called democracies, have got a dynamic way of integrating traditional and royal leadership into their systems of governance. We as uMkhonto Wesizwe should and aim to institutionalize and recognize the system of traditional leadership in South Africa in a manner that is democratic, balanced and fair, and has got respect for gender equality in terms of how such is going to be handled. It's not backward to embrace systems that define how we should move forward. The other objective is to fight for the interests and aspirations of professionals, particularly those that are excluded from mainstream participation through apartheid and colonialism. So uMkhonto Wesizwe itself has got an intention to fight for all professionals. I know their comrades were proposed that they want to form a different organization called MK Professionals as a separate organization. We will still get to entertain that in terms of how it should happen. To fight, champion and advocate for the interest and aspirations of all military veterans and ex-combatants. It's a main objective of uMkhonto Wesizwe. It's to fight for and promote gender equality in the MK structures and all spheres of society. To fight against all forms of gender-based violence, crime against children and people with disabilities. And that is one of our objectives, that we emphasize that we'll fight against gender-based violence, against the crime on children and people with disabilities. That will fight for the cultural and knowledge relevance and hegemony of all South African cultural and knowledge systems and solutions. And we're going to fight for the mainstreaming of sound traditional and indigenous healing systems and medicines in a manner that will collaborate with and enhance scientifically proven solutions. But part of our work as well is to raise the levels of political consciousness amongst the people. That is important. That, do you know, as leadership, we must always raise the levels of political consciousness amongst our people. There is a very interesting quote which is given by an author, a revolutionary actually, called Assata Shakur. You must do background check about that. She says that people do get used to anything. And the less you think about your oppression, the more your tolerance for it grows. After a while, people just think oppression is a normal state of things. But to become free, you have to become acutely aware that you are a slave. That is what Asanta Shakur says, that and ourselves, when you raise people's levels of political consciousness, is to illustrate to them every day that it's not natural that white people are automatically our bosses. It's not natural that we are landless. It's not a decision of God that we are poor. The poverty that characterizes it's a material condition which through common action we can change. And that is the political consciousness that you must give to our people as leadership every day. If you do not raise people's levels of political consciousness, then you become danger to yourself and to the organization. In terms of, and also exist to fight racism. uMkhonto Wesizwe objective number 26 is to resist any form of collaboration with the racist minority agenda and program. So, if someone asks, will you ever be in government with the DA? The answer is no, because we aim to not collaborate with racism. It's in the constitution of uMkhonto Wesizwe. We also fight to decolonize South Africa's knowledge systems and laws in a manner that will embrace and uphold decolonized laws and systems against colonial and neo-colonial laws such as the Roman Dutch law and English law and doctrine. Like that is basically that we are moving away from the Roman Dutch law. But also fight for a sound relationship between South Africa and the entire African continent in a manner and direction that seeks to achieve gradual integration towards common prosperity, freedom, and development. And that we're going to associate with the Global South, and that we're going to contribute as uMkhonto Wesizwe towards a progressive shift in the global balance of forces by strengthening institutions of the Global South like BRICS Plus and its alliances. You know, comrades, you must, but I think we will one day talk about the profound legacy of President Zuma in terms of the building the Global South agenda and placing South Africa at the center of progressive internationalism in a true sense. So, you know, you must go and listen to the part in the press conference where he was announcing the conveners of Mpumalanga and KwaZulu-Natal. I was not in that press conference. But the part where he was speaking about the de-dollarization of the global economy and how as head of state and president he introduced that concept and practice in the BRICS bloc. And the deliberations that got to happen in that front. And it's one of the issues that we will talk about. What uMkhonto Wesizwe aims to get to achieve. Section 4 on page 13. Speak to the principles and values of the organization. What are the principles and values of the organization? 10 principles. One is Ubuntu, Ubuntu. that umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. So munu imunu iban bangwan. Mental. And principle number 2 is unity in action. The emphasis, let me just emphasize on Ubuntu that uMkhonto Wesizwe is founded on that principle that we exist because of other people. We are not existing for selfish purposes and for self-interest. Number 2, the principle and value is unity in action, that everything else that we do is to unify all the progressive forces. And then that informs why we have to pursue Pan-Africanism, patriotism, and equality. And that, they speak to each other, all these principles and values, and then followed by honesty and respect. Honesty means that you cannot tell lies, you can't claim easy victories. You can't say you're going to do something and you don't do it. You can't, as a provincial leader, you say, I'm coming to the sub-region there, and then you go and stop somewhere in a tavern and not arrive in a sub-regional meeting or branch meeting. Whatever commitment that you make to structures, to members of the community, you must fulfill. Honesty and respect. Respect means that we must respect everyone. You can't use insulting language even against members of opposition parties. It's not allowed in the organization. That is a principle that is recognized. The other principle in the Constitution of uMkhonto is democratic centralism. Democratic centralism means that decisions of upper structures are binding on lower structures. So once the National High Command has taken decisions, or the national officials which have got decision-making powers, full decision-making powers in between meetings of the National High Command, once a decision is taken, you can't say that as MK Free State we have got a different view to the National High Command, or as MK Northwest we disagree. By the time you finish that we disagree with the National High Command, you will be on the other side of the Constitution. And that applies to regions. Once the province gives a directive, you can't be fighting back that, no, we don't agree as a Kuruleni, where our view is different. We have got one organization. Democratic centralism means that we are going to consult each other on some decisions that are practical to consult on. But once decisions are taken, your right to disagree doesn't matter anymore. We defend the decision. So, comrades, what that means is that as a member of the provincial detachment or regional detachment, if you take a collective decision that it looks like this sub-regional structure is not doing very well, we must dissolve it. Even if you have got a different view, when you are sent to go and communicate the dissolution of the sub-regional structure, you must not go there and say, no, those people say I must come and disband you. You must go there and say, we are here to dissolve you because you have not been doing work of the organization. Even if you had a different view, you must own up to the decisions and practice them. You must learn, it must be natural in your system that once decisions are taken, they are binding to you. You must learn how to articulate them even better than how those who proposed it were explaining it. That is democratic centralism. Once we take decisions, you must be able to defend those decisions. Any given point. That is basically what It means we will not have an organization without democratic centralism. Democratic centralism is the glue that holds the movement together, solid. It makes peace in the organization, that the organization will know that once we say that by this particular period, the following should have been met as mandate, we know it's going to happen like that. Not debated over for a very long time. Yeah, we need an explanation. What does the National Law Command mean about this? We need to be told, what is this? Yeah, what criteria was used to come to this decision? So that is, and that is how it should be, comrades. All of us must live with that reality. But the other principle is mandates, accountability, and reporting, that from time to time we must take mandates and be accountable for that and report. So all of us who go to meetings of uMkhonto Wesizwe, so as a member of the provincial detachment, a regional detachment, if you go to a meeting and then you leave that meeting without knowing what you're going to do, you're in a wrong meeting. So at the end of the meeting, you must ask the chair, the convener, we are finishing this meeting. Between now and the next meeting, what do you expect us to do? Like, to just go home. If you leave a meeting of uMkhonto Wesizwe and you don't know what to do between that meeting and the next meeting, it's a wrong meeting. And legitimately you must ask, okay, we are closing the meeting, but what do you expect us to do what do we report on when we come in the next meeting? When we leave here, it must be clear at any given point in the manner in which the organization operates. The other principle is organic forms of public representation. So what that means is that you must know what is happening in the environment and the communities that we serve. We must be one with the people. You can't be a leader of uMkhonto Wesizwe who, when you articulate, he says that, no, I read on Facebook that there is water problems in this area. No. You must know yourself firsthand of what are the issues. You must not be like Ndaweni Mahlangu, the former prim of Mpumalanga. So the same Ndaweni Mahlangu will be reading a speech. He says that in this place here, we have built 5,000 houses, and people are asking, oh, P. He says, man. Because he is just reading from what he has there. You can't rely on what you just read on social media. And then you quote newspapers that, no, I read in the newspapers that there's a big problem there. And then you think that is being political. That, no, there's an issue that I read on Facebook. There was a problem in Orange Farm. And we have not been there. As a leader, whenever there are issues that you have to attend to, you must be there. You must know what are the issues that affect our people, not through mediated means in terms of what happens. But the other principle is discipline and hard work. That you must always go in a disciplined way beyond the work that you are mandated. The other principle is knowledgeability and meritocracy. The other one is class consciousness. We'll explain in detail of what that means, that you must be aware that we are fighting on the side of the working class, but also you must be knowledgeable. You must seek to improve your knowledge every day. Every day you must get to learn something new. As a leader of uMkhonto Wesizwe, as a leader of uMkhonto Wesizwe Women and Youth Leagues and Student Movement. In section 5, which is page 19, membership of uMkhonto Wesizwe is open to all South Africans who are registered to vote and are above the age of 16 years. So everyone above the age of 16 years in South Africa is allowed to register to vote. We hear that youth league. So that becomes your program of action as an immediate program. That everyone above the age of 16 is allowed to register to vote. So because the MK Youth League, so voting is from the age of 18. To vote is the age of 18, but to register to vote is 16 years and above in terms of the Electoral Act of South Africa. What that means, Youth League, is that because the Youth League does not exist in institutions of higher learning, your primary target must be high schools. For everyone above the age of 16, you start to register them to vote. You must even think about having high school-based branches and do work of the organization there. And then you conscientize everyone. So the membership, and make them to join uMkhonto Wesizwe from the age of 16. That is the membership of uMkhonto Wesizwe, is from age of 16. And membership application is obtained individually through filling of a membership form or online application, and thereafter allocation to and confirmation by the branch of the MK. So when it says that membership is obtained individually, it means we join one by one. So you don't say that, no, I'm going to sign for my family as well. We're 3 at home. You join by yourself. If your family wants to join, they must join one by one. Even if you have got an organization that you are leading, civil society organization or union, you can't say, no, as the general secretary of this union, I'm going to sign for my members as well. I'm bringing masses. No. You join alone. We treat membership one by one in terms of how the membership of uMkhonto Wesizwe is. And then it's opened to all the people of South Africa who are opposed to colonialism and white minority rule. That is membership of uMkhonto Wesizwe. That members of uMkhonto Wesizwe must wholeheartedly serve the people and must be ready to make personal sacrifice and dedicate their lives to realizing the aims and objectives of our organization. That uMkhonto Wesizwe shall forever owe their allegiance to the members of the working class. No member of MKP shall pursue any self-enrichment, personal gain, or privilege at the expense of the people and the organization. That all members of uMkhonto Wesizwe will be placed on probation for a period of 24 months after joining, meaning that the membership may be summarily cancelled collectively by the national officials at any point during the probation period. So probation period means that the leadership of uMkhonto Wesizwe, if you have violated gross violation, there can be a decision permissibly, which is allowed by the Constitution, to cancel your membership without having taken you to a disciplinary hearing, which is costly and might take for a very long time. If you disrupt meetings of uMkhonto Wesizwe, take out firearms and threaten people, and you can see that this is done beyond any doubt. Why should we take such a person to a disciplinary committee, which is expensive? We take a decision to cancel their membership in terms of the Constitution. Maybe after the 24 months, we can then say maybe there was a mistake. But now there is no space for mistakes now. Now there is no space for mistake in terms, and it says the cancellation of the membership will be done against members whom the national officials believe have violated the organizational principles, policies, and prescripts, or are not aligned to the strategic objectives of the organization. So there are obvious cases where you know that this one does not need a disciplinary process. And that every time when such action is taken, the president must be in concurrence. That the National High Command and national officials of the MK have the power to accept, reject, or cancel membership of those who applied for membership or are members not living up to the disciplinary standards of the organization. And the power to cancel the membership is exclusively assigned to the National High Command and national officials, but not provincial, regional, sub-regional, ward and voting district structures. I would clear comrades about that. So as the provincial detachment, you can't sit and cancel the membership of anyone. You can, when a person has violated the Constitution, you can report them, but you can't take a decision to cancel the membership of anyone as the province, as a region. And membership is open to those who accept that the membership can be cancelled for political, ideological, and organizational reasons. That members of uMkhonto are not allowed to join and participate in political activities whose aims and objectives contradict the aims of uMkhonto, and save for highly exceptional and strategic circumstances, and with the approval of national officials and the National High Command, members of the MK are not allowed to be members of another political party except organizations in formal alliance with the MK. Now, comrades, what that means is that if you are a member of a different political party and you are a member of the MK, you need a written approval from the national officials. You must write to the national officials to explain that I want to retain dual membership because I was deployed to this council by the organization which has now decided to collapse into MK. And if I resign my membership of the organization, I will lose being a councillor. But for now until 2026, I have to maintain this dual membership when the organization will fold fully into MK. Are we together, comrades? So those are the few circumstances and areas where we can permit dual membership. It says for exceptional circumstances, but dual membership is not allowed in uMkhonto. You can't be a member of uMkhonto and be a member of a different political party, except with the approval of the leadership. And membership of uMkhonto is open to everyone, and it's 20 rand for a period of 24 months. And must be paid and deposited individually or collectively in the official bank accounts of the organization. And members must pay membership fees by themselves and not paid for by any other person. I want us, comrades, to read together the following section. On the declaration which all of us have to sign when we join uMkhonto, let us then check on page 21. Can we please check, all of us, page 21 of the Constitution? Are we ready, all of us? Yeah, we must stand up when we're taking a declaration now. All of us have to take the declaration. So we're going to read the declaration on the membership of uMkhonto. Are we all of us ready, comrades? So on page 16, let us start. We then mention our names, and then we then move into how we deal with that. Let's start. I, Floyd Shubham, voluntarily join uMkhonto as an individual who is committed to abide by and uphold its constitution, values, objectives, principles, and discipline. I commit that I will never be involved in divisive and factional activities and programs that seek to undermine the unity and discipline of the organization. I vow to not associate with external forces that seek to destroy and undermine the unity of the organization. I will tirelessly work to realize all its aims and objectives. I join the MKP with full knowledge and understanding that the National High Command and national officials have the right to terminate my membership at any given point for political, ideological, and organizational reasons and purposes. I join the MK with full knowledge that I'm not entitled to any position of responsibility in the organization and will always abide by and respect the decision of the leadership. I commit to serve the people of South Africa, the African continent, and the world with humility and dedication. I am not joining the MK for personal gains and self-enrichment, but to advance the cause for total freedom and emancipation. I consider myself specifically bound by the disciplinary code of the MK. I consider not to take the organization. I promise not to take the organization to court unless all internal remedies have been exhausted. Thank you very much, Comrade Samantha. So that is the declaration that all of us must commit to as membership of uMkhonto Wesizwe. And number 17, the Constitution says that the national officials of uMkhonto Wesizwe will be allowed within applicable legislation to utilize part of or all the data provided by members for responsible and sound programs aimed at building their capacity and building the organization. What that means is that when you give us your cell phone number and email address in the membership form, the national officials can responsibly utilize that data to send you other useful information, educational information on issues that, or employment opportunities, whatever information that is useful in building your capacity and building the capacity of the organization. That clause have to be in the Constitution so that when the organization sends you information, it does not violate the other regulatory legislation that exists in society. That is basically what the membership section deals with. And section 5B is duties and obligations of members that were obliged to be loyal to the organization and who must always submit to the duly authorized directives and mandates of the organization. That we must always adhere to the principle that the interest of the party, of the organization before or coordinating our personal interest to the interest of the MK and being the first to bear hardships and the last to enjoy comforts, working tirelessly and selflessly for the public interest and making a significant contribution. All members of the MK are encouraged to engage in genuine criticism and self-criticism, must have the courage to reveal and correct statements and actions violating the MK's principles and shortcomings and mistakes in work, and resolutely combat corruption and other forms of misconduct. The principle of self-criticism is important for any organization to self-sustain. And we do that in a democratic way in the organization. And as comrades, as leaders, if you realize that there's a weakness in the comrade, you go and talk to them like one-to-one and say, no, but you know, the manner in which you're handling this issue is not constructive. You don't wait to want to humiliate them now in the collective structure. That way, I saw this comrade yesterday, was speaking to people there, he didn't even greet them, he didn't do this. I said, wait, when you talk to branches, you must respect them. Instead of waiting for an opportunity to humiliate people, that's not leadership. It's building each other's character at any given point. That if the secretary, the coordinate, does not write proper minutes, you must tell them that this is not how minutes are written in the meeting. Minutes are written like this will actually help each other so that in the next meeting we've got proper minutes. Not you leave the meeting to finish and then later on that secretary can't even write minutes. Now you're gossiping. What kind of coordinator is that who can't even write minutes? Did you see those things? Do you call those things minutes? But you never say that in the meeting. You don't say it in the meeting. So as leadership, whenever there is an issue which you identify this is a weakness, you must raise it there. That no, leadership, this is not done like this. And if leadership comes to a meeting without minutes, you must raise it there that why do you come to a meeting without minutes? How do you go ahead? You come to a meeting without minutes. How do we know which decisions we took the last time? In terms of that is the self-criticism that we're obliged to respect the code of conduct and understand what the code of conduct says. But also, these members of uMkhonto must resist tribalism, sexism, and racism, and must treat everyone with utmost respect and dignity. That we must respect all traditional leaders, we must respect and honor all religious leaders. We must respect and listen to all people irrespective of their political affiliations. You can't be a leader of uMkhonto and say, I don't want to listen to those people. Those people are ANC. How are you going to convince them? You know, the president speaks in the, you can say this, national organizer. In the national officials, he says that, you know, comrades, the patience that you must have, that you must even have the patience to convince even MPP. You can see that this one is sent for destabilization. You must just get to persuade them. And then you turn them to be the people on the other side now of those who sent them. And that is the kind of leadership that we want. Respect and listen to everyone. Because if we are going to be some sect, like we're not going to grow this organization, where it will just be us only. Don't want anyone else that. Did you see? He was working with some ANC people there. I saw him yesterday, was with EFF. This one is selling out. How are you going to win the 2/3 majority? How are you going to persuade people to come to uMkhonto? How are you going to persuade them? Because remember that these people who are supposed to give us 2/3 are voting for other political parties. Some are even members of other political parties now. Some are leaders of other political parties. How are you going to bring them? If every time you go and engage them, you are going to be like, no, there's a problem. This comrade is selling us out. He's selling us out. I saw that comrade like the neighbor is ANC, he's a councillor of the ANC. There's no way. You even get accused of a neighbor. How is the organization going to grow? If every time you want to create some wall and don't want to engage other members of the organization. uMkhonto says have got rights. It's in section 6, the rights we can read for ourselves in terms of the right to attend all the relevant meetings of uMkhonto and receive the documents, the right to participate, the right to make suggestions, the right to offer well-founded criticism at MK meetings. That is a right of MK members. Not on street corners, not on social media. We do that not on WhatsApp groups. We do in meetings of uMkhonto where we give proper criticism of our own decisions and what we are doing as a movement.